house. It is a manor house, and a very stately manor house at that. I have stayed there, and its gardens extend right to the very edge of the cliffs. It is quite famous in the district, and that is one reason why Mr. Merlin wishes to acquire it. He is quite a well-known hotelier, and the Stark Point Hotel on the other arm of the bay is his property, run very successfully, I believe."
Eve did not seem impressed. "In that case, he can leave me Treloan," she said, a demure dimple appearing suddenly at one corner of her mouth. Mr. Grimshaw looked at her for a moment in silence, and then shook his head disapprovingly, but decided to yield the point, for the time being at least.
"Well, what exactly do you propose to do?" he asked. "Are you going down to Cornwall to look at the house? And if so, how are you off for funds? I can advance you anything you require at the moment, you know." But she shook her head, smiling now. "Thank you, but I have a little money of my own saved up. I've got quite a good job, you know." He did know that, although she only looked about 21, but might possibly have been between 24 or 5, she had managed to acquire a degree at London University, and was history mistress at a girls' school in the south of England. "And I'm not exactly destitute, but Uncle Hilary's 500 a year is going to come in very handy." "It won't go far," he warned her, "if you start spending it on Treloan."
"I wouldn't be so foolish," she assured him, displaying so many more attractive dimples, which made her smile a thing to watch for, that he was inclined to overlook her obstinacy. Until she added, "I'd be much more inclined to make Treloan do something for me."
"Eh?"
he exclaimed.
"If you're beginning to get ideas in your head, believe me, they won't work."
"But Mr. Merlin has ideas in his head," she reminded him softly.
"Mr. Merlin has capital, any amount of it."
"And I have Treloan, and I believe there are such things as mortgages."
"There are," he agreed, "but you'd be very unwise if you tried to raise one on Treloan. I know what I'm talking about, and I assure you the sensible course is to sell."
"Very well," she soothed him gently. "We'll see. Later on. But, in the meantime, may I please have the key of my property?" Later in the day, she sent a telegram to her Aunt Kate. Aunt Kate, living in a cottage on the rim of the Devil's Punch Bowl in Surrey, was at first greatly surprised by the telegram, and then hastened to pack a suitcase and lock up the cottage for an absence of she knew not how long. She pinned a note to the door for the milkman, and another for the boy who delivered the papers, and then, putting on Sarah's harness— Sarah was a dachshund, growing very fat, and inclined to sniff at ankles she did not like the look of— took a taxi to the station, from whence she journeyed by train and another taxi to Paddington. And at Paddington she caught sight of her niece examining the magazines on the bookstall, and looking very trim and spring-like in a new clear green suit and hat to match. Aunt Kate, who had not bothered very much about the spring, wore the kind of hat she loved best. It sat well down on her head, and was adorned with a feather of doubtful origin. Her thick tweed costume had already served her for several winters, and was growing a little tight round her middle and unfashionably short in the skirt. But her face, with its healthy, out-of-doors complexion, was beaming. Her eyes lighted up when her niece came towards her, and she handed over Sarah automatically.
"She's such a weight," she exclaimed. "But I had to bring her. What's all this about going to Cornwall? I went there once when I nearly got engaged to a person, but his sister and I couldn't agree, so I went home again."
In the train, in their corner of a first-class compartment, Eve had felt she might justifiably be extravagant for once. Eve explained the whole situation to her aunt, and the latter listened without betraying much astonishment. She uttered a few terse comments on the subject of Hilary Petherick when the story had come to an end, however.